All right, so today what I'm going to do is just run quickly through this Economics A paper. Today the focus really is on micro, so paper 1. This is, as it says here, advanced subsidiary AS paper. So mainly what we're going to be covering is year 12 content. My plan is to try and go through it as quickly as possible, but at the same time stop just to reflect on my reasoning behind each point, so that if there's something that you find more difficult, perhaps it can help you to understand better what the concepts are, which they are relating to as part of the paper. So there'll be a lot of questions, most likely on opportunity cost, on subsidies, on taxation, those core micro concepts which are essential to understand. So as you see here, you have 25 minutes. Most candidates, most students will take less than 25 minutes. Depends on who you are and how quickly you can operate and go through each question, but it doesn't matter if it takes you the full 25 minutes. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run through it, explain my reasoning, and hopefully get through it as quickly as possible. So question 1, the production possibility frontier for an economy is shown in the table below. And we've got a mixture of capital goods and consumer goods and output. Explain using marginal analysis. Okay, so that's the key point there. From the table above, the concept of opportunity cost, you may use the last column in answering the question. So firstly, opportunity cost as a definition is the value of the next best alternative foregone. So that should hopefully get the ball rolling for some knowledge or understanding, and then we can start conducting the margin analysis. So from the table of the concept, explain using margin table with the concept of opportunity cost. We can see here that they're making more capital goods each time, and as a result, they are giving up consumer goods. So what we are concerned about here is the consumer goods. So we can actually fill in the opportunity cost here. So if I'm making 10 more capital goods, how many consumer goods am I giving up? So we don't need to worry about units because they've been placed into million units to the same thing there. So that's kind of inconsequential. So the first one, for example, if I create 10 more of those particular capital goods, I'm giving up 2, or in this case, 2 million consumer goods. And so that is the marginal analysis going from 0 to 10 here. The change, that is the change that we're analyzing. And then the next one from 10 to 20 goes from 40 to 36. I'm giving up 4. And the next one going from 20 to 30, 36 to 30. So I'm giving up 6. Then I go up to 40 and I give up 8. And then I go to 50 and I give up 10. And then I go to 60 and I give up 12. And you can see that there's a pattern there. So I assume that they would give you marks for filling out the opportunity cost. In fact, I know they would, which is why they leave it blank for you to fill in. So that I've got 2 marks so far. Now, if I'm looking at this, what I can see is that each time I create 10 additional units, I'm really only giving up a small proportion each time. In fact, the opportunity cost starts to exceed it only when it gets to like producing 50 million units worth of capital goods. So one other thing in terms of analysis that I could say is the opportunity cost for making 10 additional, I'm just going to put million capital goods is low in terms of the consumer goods given up. And we can see that through our marginal analysis that we have done here. So I think that's quite straightforward. And I believe that that should be enough to get us 3 out of 3 for this question. So don't be fooled by the amount of space that they give you. You don't need to use it there, but you don't need it. Okay, which one of the following is the most likely effect of an economy producing more capital goods? Okay, so capital goods are goods that are used to make things, used to make things like make consumer goods. So you can think of things like machinery. So reduce specialization of labor, nope. A shift in the production possibility frontier, potentially. A reduction in marginal utility, no. A shift in demand for consumer goods, well, we have no idea. So the most likely answer is a shift in the production possibility frontier, because I'm going to have capital goods, I'm going to have consumer goods, and here's my initial one, but then the increase in capital goods should lead me to be able to produce more consumer goods as well. So we should have this out shift from, let's call that A to B. All right. The table below shows the UK wheat production between 2010 and 2015, wheat production in thousands of tons, and then they've put the index numbers of wheat production. 2010 is base year. We know 2010 is the base year because it's 100. 100 is typically the base year. So to find the term base year, this can be quite a simple definition. You could have two things. You could call it the benchmark year. So it's how all of these numbers are measured against. Or you could say it is the year which all other values are compared. The values are compared in a series. Now, again, they've left this blank. So what I'm assuming is that they've got a question now, calculate the index numbers for 2011, 2012 using 2010 as the base year. Okay, so this is relatively straightforward. So let's just do it for each one. So 2011. Now, the way to do this is to basically work out the percentage change between the base year 2010 and whatever year we're looking at. So for the first one, I'm going to do 15257 divided by 14878, because that's 11. Sorry, 2010. That's the base year. Here's the base. Here's 2011. And if I put that into my calculator, it should give me 102.5. What that's telling me is that this number, the difference between that is 2.5% greater, which looks accurate based on the information. So always think about checking, does that make sense based on the information that I've been given there? If you worked out the percentage difference, it'd be 2.5%. You can just add that on to the initial 100, because you know that this number 2011 is bigger than the 14878, the original basic number. So I could just put 102.5 in here. And I need to do the same thing for 2012 this time. You will see that for 2012, the number is less than the 14878. So we know that the number that we get is going to be less than 100, because 100 is equal to 14878, which means that if it's less than 100, the figure of wheat production in thousands of tons must be less than that number. So 2012, if I'm going to calculate that, I do 13,261 divided by 14878 again, which is the base year. And if I put that into my calculator, it gets me 89.1. So that is 89.1% of 14878, which is my index number, 89.1. As I said, it would be less than 100. That's the two numbers. Okay, the percentage change in wheat production from 2014 to 2015 was, okay, so these two numbers, I can do new minus old over old times 100. That is the formula for percentage change. So new figure is 16,129 minus old figure 16,606 over old figure 16,606 times 100. Whacked it into my calculator and end up with a number. So we know that's not going to be the case, but B, minus 2.87. Okay, on to question 3. So In 2015, the UK government cut subsidies for the installation of solar energy panels. Define the term subsidies. Now, subsidies are things that are given by the government to firms to encourage the production of a particular good, typically. So a recent example could be in China, the Chinese government they gave subsidy to Chinese manufacturers of solar panels, and it created this whole kind of protectionism issue, but that's besides the point. So my 1 mark for my definition, it is a government grant given to firms to encourage production of a good. Very good. Should be 1 mark. The most likely effect of cutting subsidies for the installation of solar panels is to increase producer surplus. No, that's not true. It would reduce it. Decrease the provision of public goods. Public goods are not what they're thinking about here. Decrease consumer surplus is very likely. Increase government expenditure. No, because they're cutting subsidies, which is the government expenditure. So it must be C. And that makes sense because if you give subsidies, as we'll see here, it should encourage the production of it. But hold on, it says annotate the diagram to show the effect of removing the solar panel installation subsidy on the equilibrium price and quantity. So if I imagine this as S1, you can also think about it, but you can think about it from the demand side, the household side, but I'm going to think about it from the firm side. So if I cut the subsidies, then the supply curve is going to shift in like so. And I'm going to have S2 there. And I'm going to draw my new subsidy point like so. And I can put Q1 and P1, and that is done. Easy peasy. So basically what you want to show is that it's going to increase the cost of production for firms because they're not being given this money from the government to encourage production. So the supply curve is going to shift inwards like so. Okay, question 4. The excess supply of carbon steel has recently caused its global price to fall below $530 per ton. Explain how the price mechanism responds to excess supply in a free market. Okay, so basically what happens is it works to reduce the excess supply. So the way in which we could most likely think about this is by drawing a diagram. So we've got price, we've got quantity. We're thinking about quantity of steel here, obviously, but doesn't matter. I've got diagram, demand, supply. Okay, demand, supply. What they're telling me is that initially there is an excess supply of steel, carbon steel. So somewhere here, let's say anywhere beyond this equilibrium point. There's the equilibrium point. I'm going to put that as PE and QE. What they're saying is there's too much steel, and to show the excess supply, I can go across to here to show where demand is at this price. Let's call that P1. This is the excess supply. Now I can then draw points going down here. Here's Q1, here's Q2. And so what would happen is basically supply would contract to move back, and demand would contract as well. Sorry, demand would extend. So you would move along the demand curve going that way. So if I go back to black, so the excess supply of steel will cause a contraction of supply as well as an extension of demand. And basically, if we're going to have some kind of application here, which is what we need, we can refer to this. Remember, the three functions of the price mechanism are signaling, incentives, or rationing. This is the way I like to remember it as signaling, incentive, and rationing. So what I might say, just to get the application marks, is the price of 530 per ton will act as a signal for most likely firms. I mean, no household is buying steel, for firms to buy the excess steel. And that makes sense with the fact that there is this extension on our demand curve. Okay, so make sure that, if you can draw a diagram of something, make sure you do so. So I'm just going to label this. So that's contraction supply. That is extension of demand. Cool. Steel production leads to high levels of carbon emissions. Yep. Which one of the following is likely to result in an increase in carbon emissions? So make sure you're always reading the question because it gives you lots of context. Which one's likely to result in an increase in carbon emissions? Introducing a tradable pollution permit scheme? No, that's trying to reduce it through making it more expensive to pollute. Shutting down steel factories? No, because then they won't be making steel. Subsidizing the steel industry to install clean technology sounds like the right one. Reducing indirect taxes on steel products? No, because that last one is going to make a steel expensive, which is going to encourage consumption, going to encourage production, increase the amount of pollution. So the only logical answer here is C, subsidizing the steel industry to install cleaner technology. All right, this should be our final question of section A. So universities UK raised concerns about the proposal to reduce the maximum tuition fee cap for undergraduate courses in England from £9,000 to £6,000. It stated, this unfunded proposal to reduce the fee cap would damage the quality of experience our universities could deliver to students and remove opportunities for those seeking to benefit from a university education. Explain why reducing the tuition fee cap may result in excess demand for university places. Okay, interesting. So again, let's draw a diagram to explain this. It's not quite straight enough. Here we go. So price of tuition, quantity of tuition, we've got demand, and we've got supply. Now, here's our equilibrium. And put that as QE and P. So this is the market for tuition or university tuition. And explain my tuition fee cap. So basically, if you introduce that, you're creating like a price, like a minimum price that, or a maximum price rate that they can pay, right? So what I'm going to do is draw a line across like this. Here is the P max. This is the idea that you cannot charge any more than whatever this price is. So in this case, this might be here, the £9,000. And here, this might be £6,000. That's the price that they're charging. What happens is if you reduce the price, it can create excess demand for this product. So there is naturally going to be an extension demand because it's lower price. It signals to households to buy more of it, and there's going to be a contraction in supply. There are going to be fewer university professors who want to work as professors because of maybe the pay that they get as a result of the reduction in tuition fees. And then we have these equilibrium points. So let's call that Q2, and let's call that Q1. And the distance between these two represents the excess demand. So there we go. We can see just through using the diagram where the excess demand is. So there we go, why it worked. So lowering the tuition fees will make university places more affordable, which will increase demand and create excess demand for places as illustrated by the difference between Q2 and Q1 on the diagram. Yeah, and I mean, my application really is here. This is old fees, and this is the new fees under the proposed reduction. So I'm definitely applying. I've got my diagram. I show how it creates excess demand. Done. Which one of the following statements is correct? So I believe that this is the last question. In fact, I know it is because it's there, total section A, 20 marks. Which one of the following statements is correct? The marginal social benefits exceed marginal private benefits from university education. Yes, that does sound right, but let's check the others. University education is an inferior good. No. University education is a public good. No. It's not provided, and it's not non-rigorous or non-excludable. The social optimum equilibrium quantity is less than the market equilibrium quantity. The social optimum equilibrium quantity is less than the market. No, it's not. No, that's not true. So the answer is A. The marginal social benefits exceed the marginal private benefits from university education. Basically, what they're saying is that that creates an external benefit. So there is some kind of external marginal benefit from you going to university that creates a better educated person who can then have some impact, let's say as training as a doctor or something like that, which would then impact wider society who aren't involved in that transaction. I say transaction loosely, of you being educated as a doctor. So there you go. That's how I would answer all those questions. Take a look through. Hopefully the reasoning helps you to understand better if you're confused or you've gone through this paper before and you weren't sure about the answers. If you have any questions, just put them in the comment section. And I'm going to make a couple more of these types of videos. So thanks very much. Bye-bye.